In today's episode, I'm going to be removing the subframe and everything on it from the Tesla. And though this doesn't seem like that monumental of a task, for me it was, because I had to disconnect AC condenser pipes, coolant pipes, a ton of wires, brake lines, air suspension lines, and finally steering. But forgetting all that, let me tell you what I've done so far. So far, I have won an auction for the completely totaled Tesla that will be my dream car one day. I've taken the delivery of that Tesla and actually gotten the car into my garage, which doesn't sound like a big thing, but it was really a monumental task at the beginning. And I was able to turn on my car long enough to know what options I have, which is basically all of them, including ludicrous mode and autonomous driving. I removed the pieces that were completely mangled in the accident, and I was able to remove the 1,400-pound high-voltage battery so that I can make sure that it is safe to work on the car. Assuming that I can find a suitable donor car to fix my Tesla, there are only 3 things I need to do before the real fun begins. I need to replace the bent subframe, I need to repair the bent frame, and repair the bent apron so that this car is stable and, most importantly, safe when I drive it on the road. The subframe repair should be relatively straightforward because I can just pull it out and replace it with the same part from our donor car. The frame rail, on the other hand, is a major structural component of the car. I could end up with both safety and performance problems if it's not repaired extremely well. This bent apron is going to be tricky as well because panel fitment for the fender and hood will be a huge issue if it isn't done right. Because the apron and the frame are both made of aluminum, they are super hard to work on. And since these are such important parts in the car, I'm gonna need to have professional help. Unfortunately, there seems to be no professionals that actually want to help me. Tesla certified shops say, I am not going to fix your car unless I fix everything in your car, which I don't want to do because I want to actually work on this thing. And then normal body shops say, I'm not going to work on your car because it's a Tesla. So I'm hoping to find a solution to this dilemma. The only good news I've actually gotten as of recent is I was able to find something on eBay for $350. That is this front quarter of a Tesla frame that I can use to finish my project. My next steps for this project are to remove everything off of the front of this car so I'm left with an empty frame rail and apron. My hope is that I can go to a frame repair shop and say, hey, can you cut off the front of this and just weld it on to the front of that? And surely someone will do that, right? We're trying to disconnect all these hoses since we're trying to remove the subframe, and that's really the pressing issue here. The first step to taking everything off is to get this nasty crumpled piece off, because then, well, it's not there and we can't hit our heads on it. So I've taken off the first nut, it was just right back there, and the second nut's almost off. So take it off and then try and wiggle it out. Here, pushing it in.
So if you put that back in.
Oh, never
there
mind.
you go.
Oh, and there we go.
Whoa, it's off.
Okay, so the first one wasn't too hard to take off. So I'm gonna inspect the second one real quick and we can see what we wanna take off. The first thing I'm seeing here is that this pipe is only connected to this other side. So they were just connecting to each other and kind of circling around, then going back up into the car. And there is a second pipe back here that I needed to take off. I'm guessing that's where a lot of the fluid's gonna be leaking out. So I'm gonna get a piece of cardboard and we'll put it under there before we take it off. Wonderful. So now that pipe is just not there. It's bent, so we're not going to use it again. And finally get rid of this ugly green string that's been covering up the car for the past couple of months. Finally got this little block piece off, and The only thing holding it in is this trunk latch, so I guess we've just got to really carefully snip the zip ties holding it in. One part of it, and oh, we kind of held ourselves back there. It has been taken out, trunk latch and all. I thought I'd record this because this is a monumental moment. Just taking off this ugly green wire. Oh, it's been tied, but yeah, this has been on the car for months now. And thank you. Car's looking a little bit more pretty than it was just earlier today. Now that I've removed the mangled parts of the air conditioning system and trunk latch, I'm going to turn my attention to removing a couple of hoses that are making it difficult to access other parts of the system. These particular hoses run from the pump that pushes coolant into the battery to the front of the car where they connect to either end of the radiator. Alright, so just took this clamp off. You can see that was really what was really clamping the hose to the pump. So I can just hopefully wiggle this off a little bit. There you go. Second one, here we go. There you go. All that's out. Brake lines attach on the side of the frame and then go straight onto a pump on the subframe. So I'm going to be taking out basically what pumps brake fluid through the brakes. And you can see all the lines going up and through the car. And I'm just gonna take the wiring harness out, and I just thought this clamp was pretty cool. So you have to push in here. It's like a bendy piece of plastic. And you can pull this like piece with the little wheels up, and then you just can shake it out.
Nice. Look at that. All right. Woo!
There we go. So this is part of disassembling. All right. So to basically to take the subframe off, there are bits. We have to take off everything, of course, and there are actually bits of suspension attached to the subframe. So I'm currently taking off that stuff. This is part of the steering assembly. And, that's what I'm currently getting rid of. So this part of the suspension connects to the air suspension, and that's what attaches to the wheel. But it also attaches to the subframe, so we gotta take it all out. Alrighty. Cool. So I decided just to kind of start with taking stuff off of the frame rails. And what I've decided to do is take off this wiring harness first, because it just is the obvious first step to me. So how I've been taking these off is I've been pulling on one side and then nudging a screwdriver in the other side. Okay, so here's another one. I'm just gonna try and Get it off. Wonderful. And a huge part of removing this subframe is getting all of the wires and hoses connected from the subframe to the rest of the car off. And what we did today, and it's a great example, is we took off this big chunk of wiring harness. As you can see on the ends of them, they have the date and a letter. So hopefully we'll be able to retrace our steps months from now. As we are disconnecting everything from just connections from subframe to actual car and frame and everything else from that, because we need to drop the subframe, we had to disconnect the air suspension. And I just thought that this was all pretty cool. So as you can see here, they're all color coded, and there is RR, RL, FR, FL. So rear right, rear left, front left. Then there's RES for reservoir, and then there's P, which leads all the way to here, which is the air pump, which actually pressurizes everything. And you can see here, there's the blue and the yellow. You can see actually that yellow line goes through this into the car and connects right up here, straight into a piece of suspension. And this blue one snakes to the other side, and boom, connects through another piece of the suspension. But here's the really cool part. If you go down in here, the other two colors of the air suspension run next to the battery and go into the other components later on in the back of the car. And the same thing actually for these brake lines over here. These brake lines go into the two brakes, and they also feed in over here, come out right about here, pull up, and then eventually snake back out up to here and connect to the brake pump. As you can see here, I basically disconnected everything that attaches stuff on the subframe to the rest of the car, whether that be brake lines or air suspension stuff. And now I believe there are 4 bolts left. And actually you can see here, I can move the subframe now because I've loosened them. So I'm getting ready to drop this sucker. Look at that. Oh, that was a lot shorter. Oh, that one. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really good. Okay. As I was lowering the subframe, one side was very uneven and I wanted to know what that was, so I investigated a little bit, and the steering rack or steering column was still attached to the steering rack. So before it goes snap, I'm attaching it right now. And hopefully that'll come out. I can't disconnect anything here other than that. So I'm pretty sure it'll come out. I'm gonna look at it more closely, but hope for the best. So that was a lot simpler of a procedure than I thought it was gonna be. All I had to do was actually grab the rest of the steering column, just pull it apart from the subframe, and it should pop right off. All right, I just checked. There's nothing connecting subframe to frame. This thing is coming down, baby. so this was the piece that was originally stuck when we were trying to drop the subframe. This part actually connects to a bar that goes all the way up to the steering wheel. It's called the steering column, and that connects into here a steering rack, which pushes fluid back and forth to pull these left and right to turn the car. So I just thought it would be a kind of cool demonstration to rotate it back and forth and see these move back and forth. So here we go. I'll just grab onto these. I just don't want to damage it, so I'm using a paper towel. And as you can see, when I move it back and forth, you can see those expand.
Oh, so that's
and
just like you're
compress.
turning the steering wheel.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's so awesome. I'll wheel it away. It is officially out. Now that the subframe's out, all the Tesla stuff is out, and as you can see near this frame, hopefully the mechanics in a body shop will no longer be scared to deal with all the Tesla stuff because it's not even there. Oh, so light, to be honest. It's actually surprisingly light.
That's amazing.
Look at that. That's what steers your car. Last couple of weeks have been very hard on me because I fixed up the subframe recently, or I emptied out the subframe, and the frame is ready for repair. The thing is, nobody can repair it. So Tesla certified places that have the parts that can replace this frame have to fix the entire thing, and non-Tesla certified places don't have that part, and also as soon as they hear Tesla, they lock down. They say, no, we can't do it, we can't do it. And so this is kind of my last ditch effort. I'm gonna go out with the car to a bunch of body shops, and I'm basically gonna say, I'm just gonna point at this piece of metal, say, can you weld this frame for me? It's a car, not a Tesla, it's just a car. And hopefully I can find someone. We use the last 3 shops in our area, and yep, I guess we're gonna go find out.